It is day 11 of my writer's journey, and today I want to give you an update on something that I developed for the ending of my book. Now, I've been thinking a lot about not just the end plot wise and what will happen to the magic book and everything, but for me, more importantly, I need to figure out what happens to my main characters. What are the story arcs of my three protagonists, Tim and Ilara and Ethan? And I think I figured out what I'm going to do. In order to illustrate this character arc, I'm employing a technique that I learned from another author who spoke about it in one of her videos. It said if you want to illustrate someone's progress, you can put your character in three similar situations, but showing that the person reacts differently along the way. So for me, for instance, the way in which I can show how Tim evolves is by first starting to show his insecurity. He needs to climb that tree to get the magical acorn or whatever it is, and he doesn't dare, or he's just like doubting himself, and he feels he's not up to the task. And so Alara actually climbs up before him because she is very, strong and strong-willed and agile. But so Tim is like, yeah, it's too dangerous. Then in a second moment later on in the story, for instance, he needs to climb a tower. This can be it's just an image that came to me. Like, what if he has to climb a tower, and it's part of the kind of this obstacle course to get to the headquarters of the evil person or evil mage or something like that. And so he gets to the halfway point, and then he turns around because he's still afraid. But you can tell that he's learned to muster some courage. And then the final confrontation with a similar situation is when he has to climb out of a dungeon. Again, I've no idea how he ends up in that dungeon, but I kind of like the idea that towards the end there's this literal climb to the top to get out of the dungeon to the light. And this time, not only does he climb up to the top, but he's also willing to sacrifice himself so that the others can actually reach the top. And I don't know, some heroic moment where you see that not only has he overcome his fears, but he's also willing to let go, this time not because of weakness, but out of strength. Something like that. There is something with this image of like a tower and a dungeon that I'm going to weave into the story. Alara has a similar like three-phase development in her character. And I don't know what I shared about her backstory, but she actually became a nun, or she wanted to become a nun, because she wanted to be free. She wanted to get out of her situation of her family that was abusing her and the oppression that she felt as a child, only to experience that in the monastery or whatever, the convent that she entered. It was just the same thing, and she felt oppressed and everything. So I think in the first confrontation, she wants to be like Tim, because Tim gets promotion right after he has saved the day with the book of tales. He is admitted to the scribes, to the formation that the scribes get. So he will get to learn the magical things. And then Alara feels left behind, so she gets very angry. This is also what pushes Tim to plead with his teacher to secretly also instruct Alara. And then in a second moment, there will be another confrontation. What did I write down? Oh yeah, at one point she wants an armor. Because the fight is intensifying, and her habits, her nun clothes, not gonna cut it. So she wants a strong armor that will defend her in battle. And the armorer refuses to give it to her because of prejudices. He's like, you're a girl, you're a nun, you're not supposed to wear this. This is for guys, this is for heroes, not for you. And then her reaction is she's stealing the armor. So that sets up, she literally takes charge of her own destiny. She wants that armor, she will get it. And this is the first aspect where you can see that in her evolution, she's making morally, debatable choices, because I want her character to kind of slide down. She's always she always knows what to do, what the right thing is to do. And I think it's interesting to show that because of that, she's actually slipping away from what is right and what is just. And then her third moment where we see her final change is when she actually changes camps. And again, I forgot what I already shared with you, but in the end, in the final stages of the story, she is actually going um, to apply to become part of the evil mages, because they are all about strength. They're all about grabbing your destiny, etc. So that kind of matches her deepest desire to be free, to be in charge of her own life, and to no longer be a servant of everyone else. And so it's very, very alluring to her. And the moment she cannot just walk in and say, "Hey, here I am, teach me how to become an evil mage." Not to mention that, of course, the evil mages don't present themselves as, "Oh, join the dark side." No, they actually think that they are the good guys. But anyway, she is refused. And again, it's that same refusal. You're a girl. No, it's not for you. And she kills the gatekeeper, which marks her ultimate step into the dark side. It's kind of the rite of passage. And then it turns out that that was actually the final test. She had to to show the evil mages that she was ready to kill, to do the ultimate evil, to join their cause. And that makes her worthy to become like them. So, quite a development, and tragic also, because you can totally feel for her, and that's what I want. I want you to understand why she turns to the dark side. It must make sense. It must, in her eyes, it's something positive that she does. And then Ethan is also obviously a very interesting character, who at first is working for the evil mages. He's starting to doubt, have second thoughts, starts to really appreciate the friendship, feels like basically like a spy, etc. Gets remorse, and ultimately decides to join the good guys. So he is moving the other way, and I want him to have to pay the consequences for that, because there are evil spirits that also inhabit bodies, and they out him. They let the world know that he's actually not a good angel, he's a fallen angel. And so the Tim and Lara feel betrayed, and everybody rejects him. And this is where he is ready to actually give his life as almost as a penance for what he did wrong. And the way in which he does that, he wants to save his life to save Alara, because he sees her slipping to the side that he's actually leaving. And so he does something heroic. I don't know exactly what, but what I want is that in his ultimate self-sacrifice, he's willing to abandon his corporal existence and to seal his own fate, because the moment he becomes eternal and no longer, inhabiting a physical body, his choice will become final, and that means that he might actually losing eternity forever, at least losing heaven forever. And so I think that could be a super heroic thing to do, to put your own eternal fate in jeopardy to save the soul of someone else. And then because there are no more bodies left, that when Ilara sees that act of ultimate selflessness, that is what brings her back. And she offers herself to be the host of Ethan. And so Ethan becomes one with her. Very, very, I don't know, how am I going to write this? But what I think is, imagine that from that moment on, Ethan is no longer part of the power trio. I want him actually to make room for our antagonist, for Tivus. For Tivus is also going to have a three-part arc, and he will become the third party member in future stories, maybe a future book. So Ethan has to actually leave the story, but he will not be completely gone, because from from now on, he will live inside of Elara. Elara makes room in her heart to so that he can stay there. And it's a bit like when I was thinking of how would that work in practice. How cool would it be if Ethan literally can give Elara her wings? She always felt like I cannot fly because people oppress me. And it's Ethan, by his act of selfless self sacrifice, gives her his power, or his, I say his, but of course he has no gender. And so she maybe literally can grow wings whenever that's needed. She can fly. She has angelic powers all of a sudden. But it is cooperation. So it's not that Ethan kind of merges with her, but it's a bit like Venom, like where there is this entity in her, and it's this kind of coexistence. And in that way, I can still continue to keep Ethan in the story, but at the same time, I don't constantly have to kind of like weave in other ways in which he can inhabit another body or anything. That gets old after a while. But it kind of, I keep him in the loop, but he, and at the same time, Elara will get actually the strength that she has been looking for all her life, and she's now like half human, half angel. How amazing is that? Anyway, so that's what I wrote. Hope you enjoy it. Love to hear your comments, and thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.